Hello, hello, hello. Guys, it's that time of the week. It's review time. And instead of doing a regular review, we're going to do a re review like we've done in the past. And I felt like since we've already gotten our February free games of the month from PlayStation Plus, I felt it was just fitting to do Control as our re review this week. And I'll tell you, honestly, I feel like a lot of people slept on this game when it first came out. And I still feel like there's a lot of people out there that don't know what this game is about. So let's find out. Is Control a slept on masterpiece? Or is it an overcomplicated mess? Oh, and one more thing. Welcome to the night shift. Let's get you guys clocked in. Man, oh man. Control, control, control. This is an interesting game for me because I played Control almost immediately when Control first came out for the PS4. Now I'm getting to play it with its quote unquote PlayStation 5 upgrades. I don't know if they're done. I don't know if they're going to add more or not, but as they are, they have done some upgrades. So the gameplay you see, I do have it set to graphics mode. So you should be able to see some differences, like ray tracing, and you'll see hopefully a little update on the graphics. It looked a little better to me. It wasn't a huge difference because I'll tell you right now, Control, even when it first came out, was a gorgeous, gorgeous game. But the big takeaway for me was the ray tracing. I kept seeing it at all places, all over. In fact, whenever I looked, it was so cool. Whenever you'd see a reflection in places, you'll see lights reflecting off of water and other things. It's so cool, but well, we'll get more into that later. As always, we're going to do our re review. And of course, our re reviews and our reviews are based on 4 points. We're going to do gameplay, we're going to do story, we're going to do audio and visuals, and of course, any bugs, if any. Well, if any that I came across. I'm not saying that they do exist. I'm not saying that they don't. I'm not saying my word is law on those, but I'm saying that this is what I encountered while I was playing. So, all that aside, let's get into it. I'm going to start with story because if you haven't been here before, honestly, story is where it's at for me. If a game has story, I immediately take interest. I immediately have more desire to play than a game that, well, doesn't. And Control has it in spades. I This story is so vague and so mysterious, and it's just intriguing, and it makes me want to learn more and more and more. I love the fact that there are things around that you can pick up, and it just peels the veil back just a little bit more, and that helps you understand what's going on. And I love how this feels like one of those novels that you open up, and it's this mysterious, supernatural kind of detective story. It's so fun to me. I read a bunch of those books like that when I was younger, and this was exactly how I pictured them in my mind, and felt it felt like a playable book, which is how I view games. Anyways, I mean, for me, I feel like games should almost always feel like a playable book. I've been a very big advocate about that kind of stuff. I've had friends who don't like games. I've had friends who don't even get the appeal for games. And the way I kind of describe it, games are playable books. They, you, you hear the story, you feel it, and Control just has it. There's so many twists and turns, and there's just this overwhelming sense of urgency, and it just bears in on you. It's so cool. So typically, I really wouldn't do a re-reviews like in a re-review. I guess I wouldn't really typically do a synopsis of the game for one because most of the time people know the story already. But there's just so many people that I feel like kind of just slept on this game and they don't really know why this game is fun. That I'm just going to go ahead and read off a brief synopsis of the game. And hopefully, if you came to this video hoping to kind of understand why there's a lot of people out there that really enjoyed this game, hopefully, this will kind of help you understand more of what's going on. So, let's go ahead and read that. So, Control is a game that revolves around the Federal Bureau of Control, the FBC, a secret U.S. government agency tasked with containing and studying phenomena that violate the laws of reality. You play as Jesse Faden, the Bureau's new director. The player explores the oldest house, the FBC's paranormal headquarters, and utilize powerful abilities in order to defeat a deadly new enemy known as the Hiss, which has invaded and corrupted reality. The players gain abilities by finding objects of power, which inhabit mundane objects like a rotary phone or a floppy disk imbued with energies from another dimension that have been at the center of major paranormal events and since recovered by the FBC. So that's just a general kind of vague description of the game. It really only kind of just gives you a general idea, and I think that's fair because I don't want to give you guys any spoilers. Even the gameplay I'm using is really there's some spoilers in there, so don't pay too much attention to it if you're new to it. But it's just such a good story. There's little details like the pickup items and going around. You could talk to people and find out more information, and it just all of it combines to tell this interesting, intricate story, and I love it. But I think what helps drive this story home is we're gonna hop into the audio and visuals. I feel like this drives this game. It helps get it to where it's going because this game takes that feeling. It goes. It feels like a grungy detective movie. I don't know if some of you have seen those kind of movies where, you see here, but that's what it feels like. It's got that vibe of like, you know, the old timey detective movies, and I just love it. I eat it up. It's so fun because every turn there's something in your way. Every turn there's a new thing getting in your way, and the visuals drive that with the with the obviously first off with the camera filter. I There's always this filter in there, and then turn around, and when you're going into certain areas, that filter changes to make it even more intense. And then there's different areas, like I believe roughly about this time, we should get into this like weird. It's like supposedly a different dimension, and it looks so different, and it gives you that vibe of a different place, and it helps you realize what's going on. But they use colors, vibrant colors, reds and blues, to really push home what they want. The destructible environment, the fact that you can turn around and destroy environment and you can see how detailed that is, the characters, the all the environment models, they're just so well done. And I know I'm talking about the visuals, but the audio plays just as much importance. I mean, the music in this game is so good. It drives home that detective feel. You've got the piano, and you've got the age old like doo doo kind of sounds that just make you go like, okay, well, I'm about to hit, a major issue. Something's about to happen. And then once you get into battle, it helps intensify the moment. You just get lost into it. It's just so well done. And I wish I could say I could find a fault here, but if anything, I have to blame my TV because I know my gamma and everything sucks. I need to get a new one, but it's just they're on point for me. It just drives home the message that the game has for it. So, with that being said, I think let's get go ahead and get into gameplay because it's arguably just as important. And I almost want to say this is kind of like a Dark Soulsy game. It it's complicated. It's difficult, and it punishes you because if you die, you have to go back to your last checkpoint. But it's kind of like that game that's like this, but it's also a little easier because I can tell you right now, it's not. I don't think it's nearly as difficult as Dark Souls, even close. I was playing on normal. That was the highest difficulty it had for me. So, but I also was I didn't have saved data for control for my PlayStation 5. So all I know is that the gameplay to me, for the most part, felt fairly smooth and very organic. Like it didn't feel awkward for me. And that's good, especially for like a first. Well, it's not even a first time. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. It's a third person over the shoulder shooter because not a lot of games do that anymore. A lot of them go to that first person shooter. There are some, but for me, it's very important when you're going to do that. You need to make it easy for the player to utilize that weapon efficiently because then you have a player base that's just getting mad at the fact that every time they try and attack the enemy, they are missing all the time. And that's still an issue here. I know, especially when I first started playing back on the PlayStation 4, that was an issue I had where it was just, oh, I can't hit anything because third person over the shoulder is just so weird to shoot from. But it it is better. Compared to other games, I feel like it's not as difficult. So, aside from that, I think the game is really good. We're talking everything gameplay wise. We're talking, how the environment interacts with you. We're talking about how your abilities work and everything like that. It's just I know I'm kind of stumbling here and I apologize. I'm gathering myself, as some might say. I guess what I mean is I'm trying to think of how to convey this to you guys, and I think where I'm at on it is like there's so many aspects to it. So the shooting we've already kind of covered, but then after that, it's like okay, your your character has abilities that it gains as you play through the game. But then on top of which, those there is like a skill tree kind of thing. You can obtain more abilities and upgrade your abilities on on top of that, and then turn around and like your weapon, your gun, it has different forms which you can use later in the game as well if you have the right materials. And I felt like that was really cool because depending on what forms you have, it really affects your playstyle. Like for me, almost always in any game, especially if you watch my Let's Plays, I'm always playing a distance kind of play style. I like to keep danger and myself fairly far away from each other. And I say that, and I know some of you will probably call me out and be like, I see you get close into danger. Yeah, I do that too. But I do like to play a range style quite a bit too. And with this game, it's kind of difficult to do that, especially right now with the gameplay that you see, because the entire gameplay that you see, I have the base form. I wanted to keep spoilers for later in the game as close to a minimum. You're seeing beginning of the game, and that's it. Like, let's keep it pretty closed. But I just feel like there's so much to it. I I will say I did have a little bit of a laugh. So they have chests in this game, and as you just saw, I just opened one, and every time I opened a chest, the first time didn't notice it, could have cared less. But since that time, I had played Jedi: The Fallen Order, and now every time I see my character open a chest, all I can think of is that game because I swear it's the same animation. I swear it is. But it's cool to me that I can make that connection because it brings that game back, and I just enjoy these games. I, this game to me is so much fun. So we've hit three topics. We've hit gameplay, we've hit story, and then of course we've hit audio and visual. So I know a lot of you are going, okay, but what about the bugs and issues and stuff? You know, that's difficult because I don't want to bring a game down, and normally, unless it's overwhelming, I really don't care about bugs. And this is a very similar case because, really, honestly, I can't think of any that I ran into. Because if I did, it was that small of an issue. I just didn't stick with me at all. And this is the. It could be that I'm feeling a little unbiased or biased, maybe. I don't know. Because I did do a review over Cyberpunk, and it was a glitchy mess. So that may have something to do with it. I don't know. I just know that in terms of when I played this on the PlayStation 5, none really come to mind. If I'm really stretching my brain a bunch, I can think back to just because I was playing in graphics mode. Sometimes when I would run, you could kind of see the clunkiness, just a little. But really, honestly, any game that you play in graphics mode is going to look clunky here and there just because we haven't quite figured out that mode yet. We need more time to flush all that out. So, really, honestly, this game, is pretty polished, and that's what I expect of a game. And of course, it's had time to get all that out, but still, a polished game makes much more of an impression than releasing a half done game and saying, well, we're going to fix it later. All right. So rather than ramble on more, I think I'm going to go ahead and give you guys what you came here for, right? Control's re-review score. I'm going to do it a little differently. Still going to score it out of a 1 from 10, but I'm going to talk a little bit about why I scored it this way, why I scored it the point that I do. And I'll go through each category as to why. So, let's start with story. For me, Control scores so high on story. It's so intriguing, so fun. Story alone, I gotta say 7. So that's how good this game is. It's a 7, maybe even an 8 for just story. So then turn around and we're looking at audio and visuals, and that only enhances it. This game just, it's probably an 8 for audio and visuals just because it pulls it more. So then you've got, I'll stick with an 8 for story, an 8 for audio and visuals, and then come down and you've got your gameplay. I struggle with this one a little bit just because of that third person over the shoulder, but I just can't picture this game any other way. So I'll give it a slightly less. I'll give it a 7.5 for gameplay. Just slightly knock it, just because it's hard to do a third person over the shoulder game that's not clunky in some way, but they did such a well job at doing that. So then I have to factor in bugs and issues like that, and if the only bug and issue I can think of when I played was the fact that I was putting the game in graphics mode, and because I had it in graphics mode, a sudden sprinting motion made my character look clunky when she ran. If that's all I can think of, then I really can't dock it any for there. So then where does my actual overall score land? And I'm going to say an 8.5. I know I said 8s and then a 7.5 for the gameplay, but this game is just so good. It's such a good game. It's an 8.5 for me. The story just drives it home, and the audios and visuals just help it along and make it that more dramatic. And it feels like that detective novel. So, seriously, guys, if you slept on this when it first came out for the PS4, or if you weren't sure about it because it was $60 and you don't know if you'd want it, or even if you just have PlayStation Plus and you saw it and you're like, I don't know, I never got into that game, please download this or at least add it to your library, because it is a game, guys. It is a great game. It's something I think nobody should miss out on. It's just that good. So that's my video, guys. If you made it this far, I thank you so much. I know a lot of you guys only watch a couple minutes. Maybe it's my voice. I don't know. I think I have a lovely voice. But if you made it this far, guys, I'm begging you, please like, share, comment, engage with us any way you can. We do have a Facebook page. We do have a Twitter. I recently made a TikTok page. I haven't posted anything yet, but do not worry. I will get stuff posted on there. It'll just be little highlight videos. And, of course, we do have our channel where you can check out all of our full videos here. So please, go check it out. I promise you'll have a lot of fun. See you guys next time.